Right, it's Dan for the Rock Show. I'm going to get this very beautiful man to introduce himself.
So modest. I'm Joel from Silent Screams.
And you guys are over here with New Year's Day, Motionless in White.
It's true. It's correct.
Is it correct? I got the details right. How's it going for you guys so far?
Yeah, the shows have been amazing. It's cool. It's a very different dynamic than we're used to playing to, obviously because our type of music is slightly different from what Motionless in White, and especially New Year's Day, because New Year's Day is very, very rocky.
Yeah.
You know, Motionless have a lot of electronic stuff going on, but you know, it's cool to play to that new dynamic of people, because otherwise you end up just playing to the same circles.
I've seen this a lot more where the lineup isn't actually strictly all the band sounds. Yeah, even similar, you've got this trying to get things hooked in. Are you enjoying that more so than, say, necessarily design billing for you guys?
It can work out really nicely because, like I said, you can end up gaining a lot of new followers from it. So a lot of people who've never heard of you before can kind of come to you and say, like, you know, I really didn't expect that. On this type of billing, a lot of people will probably come in expecting to hear something similar, and when we don't, when we come out, you know, tattooed up to hell and then start shouting at them for half an hour straight, they kind of don't really expect it. But the you know, the vast majority of people have been really cool. That, you know, again, I always come out and stand at merch every night, and there's been, you know, loads and loads and loads of people coming out and just saying, like, guys are amazing, taking pictures, signing stuff like that.
Do you find it takes like a certain level of confidence knowing that you've got to convert people, like, sort of every time
Yeah,
you go out there?
it's tough because it's like, for instance, when we did like the Attila tour, it was easier because those people, before we went on, I mean, we were main support, so we weren't even opening the show. And you know that the kids on that tour want to fucking... Oh, can I swear?
You can swear, it's fine.
I wasn't
absolutely
sure.
Fine.
Yeah, you know that they want to mosh,
Yeah.
and they want to move, and they want to have a good time, and etc., etc. But especially with this tour, you know, there's a lot of younger kids here, and some of them haven't been to shows before. I've noticed a lot of them have been coming up and being saying, "Oh, this is my first show. It was amazing to see you," and stuff like that. And
Brilliant.
it's quite daring, you know, going out and being that band that has to get everyone going when they've never heard of you. And you know, there could be the absolute point where you look out and no one cares. You know, it could happen that way. We've had reviews from this tour saying, like, you know, Silent Screams went out to a crowd that obviously did not know them, but we won them over.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best thing you can hope for.
I think you guys do well on that because of your mixture of shouting and singing vocals.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if you start opening with all the shouting, as soon as they've got something that they can relate to.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
fantastic.
we played it as tactfully as we could on this tour because we have a lot of harder songs that we strip back and kind of replace them with one. I mean, there's still some heavy tracks in the set list, but we open up now with one that's quite singing based, just to kind of ease people in before, because the next ones after that are quite hardcore, quite really heavy breakdowns and stuff like that. So we kind of we ease them in before it really happens, so they're already enjoying it before we start kind of hitting them with the heavier stuff.
Fantastic. Your last album was out in 2014.
Yeah.
Are you finding that's maturing quite well now? It's been out for a bit.
Hope for Now was a weird one for us because obviously the album before that was When It Rains, and that was after that James left and I joined. We released the single when I joined in 2013, and that was like did incredibly well for us. It did incredibly well in like the iTunes charts and stuff like that. So when it came to Hope for Now, it was a bit of a strange process under the fact that we had a lot of stress and strain on us to get that album out, and for it to be as good as that single did. There was so much pressure behind the scenes that people don't know about that album kind of didn't really do as well as it could have done for us personally.
Okay.
But it was really well received. It was strange. It's really odd to put something out that, you know, in the end you're not completely happy with, but for it to do so well, it's kind of like a very strange feeling inside. It's kind of like, not irony, but you know what I mean? It's kind of when you're left kind of feeling, we could have done this better, we could have done that better, we could have pushed this harder, but then it still does really well and people come up to you and say, you know, I love this album, you know, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of personal stuff in that album and a lot of work did go into that album, but
there's a transition one for the band, I imagine.
Yeah, like, you know, we get a bunch of people that are still like, you know, I prefer the old one, and that's fine, you know, like,
you're always going to have that though.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, but you know, with Hope for Now, we tried a few things differently. and in some aspects they paid off, and in some they didn't really, and we will probably lose those aspects when we move on now.
Okay, so you guys already planning the next one after?
Yeah, we're already writing. We're writing the third album now, and we've, like I said, we went kind of like a bit experimental in Hope for Now. As like we had like electronics and stuff in there, and we thought this was kind of like a good idea at the time. And since like listening back, it's not really a feature that stays in our music very well.
Okay.
Obviously, our singer Tom Craig left the band a couple of months back, so you know his kind of very obvious, very like happy-go-lucky singing style is gone.
Yeah.
But it doesn't technically mean we won't sing. You know, we released a new song a couple of weeks ago, and it has Landon from the Plotting Unit.
Okay.
So that kind of brings a whole new dynamic to the song. You know, that song is balls to the wall, like straight up, just heavy and aggressive, hardcore. It's got some cool riffs in there. It's got a like really heavy breakdown,
nice.
And it's stripped. If you listen to that and then you listen to Hope for Now, it's stripped away all the kind of fine polishings that Hope for Now had. All the kind of like, Hope for Now had a lot going on. It had a lot of levels and dynamics to it. It was like so finely tuned, and that's what I didn't really like about it.
Okay.
I like the more raw, the angrier side
Visceral
of things.
sort of,
Yeah, and that's, if you listen, and I mean, Everything Ends that we released, the new single, everyone loved it as well.
Okay.
Like, you get, obviously when you release something, you get positive and negative comments always. Like that's just part of being in a band. But when we released Everything Ends, we didn't really have anything negative said about it, which is always a great thing. Yeah, it's really cool. Man. I mean, obviously people were sad that Tom's left, but I think it's, you know, obviously I'm sad that he left, but in a way I'm glad that he left, because it's cool now for us to actually get that kick up the ass to do something different.
Yeah, it's driving
and
you
actually,
forward.
yeah, because I mean, technically we could have recorded this third album and done the same thing we did last time, but slightly hyped up, slightly this, I don't know. But it still technically just would have been the same thing. Okay. You know, if you don't have that push or the kind of jump or the shot to get you to not be in your comfort zone, sometimes you don't realise that you're there.
Yeah.
And this kind of jump, that Tom leaving and, you know, all this type of stuff, this gave us the push and the fire to be like, this is the time when we can do something different.
It sounds exciting, man.
It's cool. Like, this band is more hype now than it ever has been. Okay. Like, we fell into a real bad rut. Everyone was a bit down with how Hope for Now came out because it wasn't really us. It was. I don't feel that it was a true representation of this band. Since I joined this band, that album has not set out to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I'm more driven than ever to actually get going and get recording and get writing, because there's so many things now in the nicest possible way that we couldn't do when Tom was in the band that we can do now.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll be doing some clean singing.
Nice.
You know, it's not going to be probably quite as, you know, like we have tracks like on the old album, like A New Normal, where they're really, really heavily singing orientated. It probably isn't going to get to that point again.
Okay.
We're going to strip it way back and just, you know, there'll be some songs without any singing in at all.
They'll
just be heavy and raw and aggressive. You know, there'll be some real hardcore stuff in there. There'll be some real just metal stuff in there. And yeah, it's cool. And we'll probably, like, you know, I mean, we all have like these kind of ideas that have been floating around from so long, like, you know, from different bands and different musical aspects that we want to try. So we're just going to move forward and keep pushing.
Sick. I like the way that you're sort of viewing the situation. I think a lot of bands shy away from talking about members leaving and what effect it actually has. And you're not being even like negative about it. It's just being realistic. And
yeah, you've got to be though, because otherwise it's just. I mean, the thing is with Tom leaving, we didn't ever want to leave it to speculation that this band might be done or we can't survive without him, because if it gets to that point, people are just going to talk and they're going to speculate and they're going to be like, you know, that's why we released the single when he left.
Yeah.
We put that single out a couple of days, no, it was like the same day that when he left, because we were like, we're not done. Yeah. Like, Tom wasn't this band, he was a part of this band.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, he wasn't the band, and we just wanted to prove that to people, and it has. Do you know what I mean? When we put it out, people love that song, they're excited for more. Tom left, they were sad, but they're still with us.
Yeah.
And that was the best way we could have done it. And like I said, I'm happy he's gone, because he's happy what he's doing, and we're more driven and happier than we've ever been now.
Wish him on his way, and then you guys get to crack on.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
doing something without a member that's unsure about what he wants to be
Exactly.
doing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, I honestly wish you guys the best of luck.
Yeah.
And I'm quite excited to hear what you follow up with after the single.
Me too.
Thank you for taking a couple of minutes, man.
Thank you so much. It was a
Cheers.
pleasure. Thank you.